Welcome back. Time for another NFL team preview. We're going to the Big Apple and we're going to be talking about the New York Giants. Last year they were 9-7 and missed the playoffs following a disastrous second half. The team started 6-2 and faltered from there on in. Tom Coughlin is 83-61 with 2 Super Bowl wins in his tenure as the Giants coach, but you have to wonder if the media will get on him again, as they seem to almost every year as they start extremely well. They started 6-2 majority of years with Coughlin, but have failed in the end. You have your quarterback Eli Manning, who is one of the best big game quarterbacks. He's had a down year last year, a horrible second half. As a fantasy owner, I somehow managed to win my league despite Eli Manning being horrible for the most of the season. But a wide receiver, you just extended Victor Cruz. He's one of the best slot receivers in the league. Explosive, can take it to the end zone almost any play. But he's not the best receiver on the team. That's Hakeem Nicks when he's healthy. The problem is Hakeem Nicks has never played a full season. When he's out there, he is a big target. He's hard to bring down. He's got great hands. And he really is Eli's favorite target, as we saw in the Super Bowl a few years ago. Then we move to a third wide receiver where it's Ruben Randall. Nice target out of the SEC. And then we got some nice targets at the 4th and 5th spot. Ramsey Barden, big physical player. Lewis Murphy had some success early with the Raiders, but isn't consistent enough with his hands. And Jarrell Jergen, who will also do some returning. At tight end, they signed Brandon Myers from the Raiders, who his blocking's dropped off, but is great hands, doesn't drop a lot of passes, and he could have a big year replacing Martellus Bennett. Could be a red zone target for Manning. We move to running back, where we're filming this just after last night's 4th preseason game when Andre Brown broke his leg. And he was set to challenge David Wilson for some carries, but it's going to be all David Wilson now. Ahmad Bradshaw, the former first-round pick, was much better as the season went on. He started as a kick returner, but got some carries on the offense as the season went on. The offensive line, it's a unit that's aging and it's gradually had some pieces replaced. William Beatty is back at left tackle. He's above average, but he's not an exceptional tackle. Kevin Booth, the very smart Cornell grad, is a good starter, grades out rather well. David Boss, is good since he signed there, but he, again, is on the decline in his career. Chris Snee is really getting up there in age, Tom Coughlin's son-in-law. And David Deal is in steep decline. Expect this to be one of his last years starting, as they drafted Justin Pugh out of Syracuse in the 1st round. And we move to defense, where much like their offensive line, their defensive line is in decline. Justin Tuck has only had 9 sacks the past 2 years. He's in his early 30s. He does not have a lot left. And then you have a big question mark beside Justin Pierre-Paul, who is coming off back surgery. You're not really sure when he's going to be back. The Giants need him back as soon as possible. He's their best pass rusher when he's healthy. And then you have Matthias Kiwanuka, who, after starting his career at defensive end, spent the last few years at linebacker, back to defensive end. It should benefit him as he's lost a step, but he can still be productive on the defensive line. And then they got Demartha Moore of Texas A&M. Once considered a top 10 pick, he fell all the way to them in the 3rd round. You have to think that they're going to get something out of him as a pass rush specialist. We go to defensive tackle, where they're very deep. They went out and signed Colin Jenkins after he was cut by the Eagles. He graded out well, but how much does he have left? He's an old guy on his 3rd team and 3rd contract. Linval Joseph is their best defensive tackle. Back again, he should be a very active force in the middle of that defense. They drafted Jonathan Hankins in the 2nd round. And then they signed a couple guys who could see some time. Big Sean Rogers is a force. Yes, he's in his mid to late 30s, but he's still hard to move. They signed Mike Patterson, who was great until he had that brain aneurysm a few years ago. We'll have to see if he can bounce back. And then they drafted Marvin Austin, who was a big-time prospect coming out of North Carolina, but had some red flags. He tore a pectoral. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, but he's very talented if he can get a chance to go on the field. We go to linebacker, where you're looking at one of the weaker units in the league. You have Keith Rivers, your starter. He's been a buff. He's dealt with health problems. He missed a whole season with the Bengals. And then he signed Dan Connor, who also had some health problems. He just bounces around the league. He can't find a consistent starting job. Really, he's a guy who can stuff the run, but he can't play the pass. You go to Spencer Paisner versus Jacques Williams for your weak side job. Be interesting to see who wins the starter job there. Jacques Williams was a great cover guy in the past, so you think he might see more passing down than Paisner, see more first and second down. We go to corner where Corey Webster is on decline. This is a guy who's getting up there. He's dealt with some injuries, but they do have one of the young up-and-coming corners. He's one of the best corners in the draft when they drafted him out of Nebraska, and that's Prince Mukamura. He must stay healthy. He's dealt with some injuries. He broke his foot, broke a hand, and you really hope he stays healthy because he can be one hell of a player. And then they re-signed Aaron Ross after he left for Jacksonville last year. He was cut, came back. He's a great third corner, but not a guy you want relying starting as the Jaguars found out last year. At safety, you got Antrel Rolle, who's a very good player because you can line him up anywhere in the secondary. He's versatile. He started at corner originally. He's gone from free safety. Now he's expected to play some strong safety for the Giants. And then at free safety, you got the weak link. That's Ryan Mundy. He couldn't break in as a starter with the Steelers. I don't like him as a starter on the Giants. As we move to kicker, they got Josh Brown in. He's got an accurate leg, but it's not as strong as it once was. Steve Weatherford is one of the most jacked punters as we saw recently with his cheese grater abs, but he's a below average punter. The returners will be David Wilson, but you have to wonder how much returns he'll see now that he's the primary back and really the only starter they have, and Rueben Randall. So Rueben Randall could be seeing a big jump in return yardage. I project them to improve on last year's 7-10 record and go 10-6 and compete for the division title with the Washington Redskins, and that's my preview for the New York Giants.